The wind howled across the Wyoming plains like a banshee, rattling the shutters of the old ranch house, where Elias Hawthorne sat alone by the fire. It was 1887, 35 years since the day his world had shattered. His wife, Clara, had vanished in a blizzard while riding to town for supplies. Search parties found nothing but her horse, half buried in a drift, reins tangled in sagebrush. The sheriff called it a tragedy. Elias called it the end of his life. He'd buried an empty coffin under a cottonwood tree and swore he'd never love again. The ranch, 3,000 acres of cattle and heartbreak, became his prison. He worked from dawn to dusk, his hands cracked and bleeding, his heart a stone. The hands respected him, feared him even, but none dared speak Clara's name, until the day the twins walked in. It was late October, the sky the color of tarnished silver. Elias was in the barn mending a harness when he heard the creak of the yard gate. Two girls stood there, no more than 10 years old, identical as mirror images. Same chestnut hair in braids, same freckles across their noses, same wide green eyes that stopped his heart cold. They wore patched dresses too thin for the cold, boots scuffed and muddy. One carried a burlap sack. The other clutched a crumpled letter. They stared at him like he was a ghost. "Daddy?" the one with the sack said, voice trembling but sure. Elias dropped the harness. The world tilted. "What did you call me?" The other girl stepped forward, holding out the letter. "Mama said to find you. Said you'd know us by our eyes." He took the paper with shaking hands. The writing was Clara's, looped and elegant, the same hand that had written him love letters before they married. His knees buckled. He sank onto a hay bale, the letter trembling in his grip. "My dearest Elias, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I never died in that storm. I was taken by men who wanted the land, who knew about the silver vein under the north pasture. They held me in a canyon camp for months, then sold me to a trader heading to California. I escaped, but by then you'd buried me. I couldn't come back. They'd have killed you both. I bore our daughters in a mission in Sacramento. I named them Rose and Lily, after the flowers you used to bring me. I've raised them with your stories, your photograph, your memory. But the consumption took me last winter. The sisters at the mission promised to get them to you. Forgive me, my love. I never stopped loving you. Tell the girls about the stars over the ranch, how we'd lie in the grass and name them. Tell them their father is the bravest man I ever knew. All my love forever, Clara." The letter slipped from his fingers. The girls, Rose and Lily, watched him with Clara's eyes, waiting. "You're mine?" His voice cracked like old leather. Rose nodded. "Mama said you have a scar on your left hand from a branding iron. Show us." He held out his hand. The scar was there, pale and jagged. Lily traced it with a finger small as a sparrow's wing. "It's true," she whispered. "You're our daddy." The hands found them later. The three of them sitting in the dirt of the barn. Elias's arms around his daughters for the first time. Tears cutting tracks through the dust on his cheeks. Old Jeb, the foreman who'd worked for Elias since the war, took one look and crossed himself. "Lord Almighty," he muttered. "It's Clara come back in double." Word spread like wildfire. The town of Bitter Creek buzzed with it. Some called it a miracle. Others whispered of fraud, of con artists with a forged letter. The sheriff came out, hat in hand, and read the letter himself. He knew Clara's writing from the land deeds she'd signed. "It's her," he said quietly. "I'd swear it on my badge. But miracles have prices. The men who'd taken Clara weren't ghosts. They were the McAllister clan, three brothers who'd coveted the Hawthorne silver since the first assay report in '52. They'd staged the kidnapping, spread the story of her death, and waited for Elias to drink himself into the grave or sell out cheap. When he didn't, they bided their time. Now, with Clara's daughters on the ranch, the game changed. The silver was still there, and the McAllisters wanted it. They wanted Elias broken. The first sign was the cattle, 50 head gone in a single night, driven off under cover of darkness. Then the barn caught fire, arson clear as day. Elias found the kerosene can with the McAllister brand stamped on it. He stood in the ashes at dawn, the girls clinging to his legs, and made a decision. He'd spent 35 years mourning a lie. He wouldn't lose his daughters to the truth. He rode into Bitter Creek with the twins in the wagon, their faces scrubbed clean, dresses mended by the ranch cook's wife. The town gathered in the street, shopkeepers, miners, the preacher's wife with her eternal jar of peach preserves. Elias stood on the saloon steps, the letter in his hand. "This is my wife's writing," he said, voice carrying like thunder. "These are my daughters. Anyone who says different can face me at dawn." Then old Mrs. Grady, who'd delivered half the babies in the county, stepped forward. She peered at the girls, then at Elias. "Spitting image of Clara at that age," she declared. "And you, Elias Hawthorne, have her stubborn chin." I'd know it anywhere. The town chose sides. Most chose Elias. A few, the ones who owed the McAllisters money, looked away. The girls settled in like they'd always belonged. Rose took to the horses, fearless as Clara had been. Lily followed Elias everywhere, asking questions in a torrent. "Why do stars fall? How do you know when a cow's sick? Will you teach me to read the brands?" He did. Every night by lamplight, he taught them letters and numbers, the way Clara had taught him to read poetry. They learned fast, those green eyes soaking up knowledge like sagebrush after rain. But the McAllisters weren't done. They came at dusk, 6 riders with rifles across their saddles. The leader was Caleb McAllister, oldest of the brothers, face like a hatchet blade. "Hawthorne," he shouted from the gate. "Send out the brats and the deed, and we'll let you walk away." Elias stepped onto the porch, shotgun in hand. The girls peered from the window, faces pale. "Over my dead body," Elias called back. "That can be arranged." The first shot shattered the silence. Elias fired back, dropping the horse of the man beside Caleb. The animal screamed and fell, pinning its rider. Chaos erupted. The ranch hands poured from the bunkhouse, rifles blazing. Jeb took a bullet in the shoulder but kept shooting. The girls screamed from inside. Elias's heart seized. He fought like a man possessed. 35 years of grief fueled every shot. He took down 2 more riders before a bullet grazed his thigh, hot as a branding iron. Caleb charged the porch, knife drawn. Elias met him with the shotgun butt, cracking the man's jaw. They grappled, rolling into the dirt. Caleb's knife flashed. Elias caught his wrist, twisted until bones snapped. "You took her from me," Elias growled, face inches from Caleb's. "You'll never take them." He drove his fist into Caleb's temple. The man went limp. The remaining McAllisters fled, leaving their dead and wounded. The sheriff arrived with a posse, too late for the fight, but in time to haul the survivors to jail. The ranch smoldered in places, but it stood. The girls ran to Elias, burying their faces in his blood-soaked shirt. "We thought you were dead," Rose sobbed. "Takes more than that to kill a Hawthorne," he said, voice rough. But his hands shook as he held them. Winter came hard that year. Snow piled to the eaves. Elias sat by the fire with his daughters, teaching them to whittle, to play checkers, to listen to the wind the way Clara had. One night Lily asked, "Do you miss Mama?" "Every day," he said. "But she sent me you." "That's her gift." Rose traced the scar on his hand. "Will the bad men come back?" "Not if I have anything to say about it." Spring brought green to the plains. The cattle multiplied. The silver vein, Clara's secret, stayed buried. Elias filed the assay report with the territorial office, but he'd be damned if he'd dig it up. Some things were worth more than money. The girls grew. Rose broke her first colt at 12. Lily wrote poems that made the schoolteacher cry. They wore Clara's locket, split in 2, each with half a heart. Years passed. The ranch prospered. Elias's hair went white, but his back stayed straight. The girls married ranchers' sons, had children with Clara's eyes. The cottonwood grew tall over the empty grave, its leaves whispering in the wind. On the anniversary of Clara's death, Elias took the girls, now women with children of their own, to the tree. He laid wildflowers at the base. "She never really left us," he said. "She just took the long way home." Rose smiled through tears. "She's in the stars, Daddy, like you told us." Lily squeezed his hand. "And in us." Elias looked at the vast Wyoming sky, the same sky he and Clara had named constellations under. Somewhere he knew she was watching. The wind carried her laughter across the plains, and for the first time in 50 years, Elias Hawthorne smiled without pain.